We had nothing. I had one hat. If I lost that hat, I was a goner. There was no way to match up to anything else. So what I did is I took my wardrobe home at night.
Picture this. A man walks into a dusty town, his eyes squinting under a dirty hat.
I took it back to the hotel. I took the hat and the poncho, which we only have one of. The stuff that I brought over had triplicate, but the stuff we bought over there
Doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. One look from him, and you know he's not someone you want to mess with. This is Clint Eastwood in the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for over 50 years, fans have been trying to figure out what made this movie so special. Well, get ready, because Clint himself has finally started talking, and what he's revealed will completely change how you see this legendary film. You think you know everything about that famous squint, that mysterious poncho, and those long, silent stares? Think again. Behind the scenes of this classic Western lies a story of chaos, danger, and secrets that even the biggest movie fans have never heard. From a fake interview scandal that fooled the entire world to the shocking truth about who really stole the show, we're about to uncover the hidden story of one of cinema's greatest masterpieces. So buckle up, movie lovers, because today we're diving deep into the dusty world of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never watch this film the same way again. Let's start with that famous squint. You know the one. Clint Eastwood's eyes narrowed to slits, staring down his enemies like he could kill them with just a look. For decades, fans thought this was just brilliant acting, a carefully planned choice to make his character seem more dangerous and mysterious. But here's the truth that Clint finally admitted. It wasn't acting at all. It was pure survival. Picture yourself standing in the blazing Spanish desert where they filmed this movie. The sun is beating down so hard that you can barely keep your eyes open. There are no fancy lights or modern equipment to help. Just you, the camera, and the most intense sunlight you've ever experienced. That's exactly what happened to Clint Eastwood during filming. He was squinting because he had to. His eyes were watering from the brutal desert sun, and keeping them wide open was impossible. But here's where it gets interesting. Director Sergio Leone saw Clint squinting and absolutely loved it. Instead of trying to fix the problem, he told Clint to lean into it, make it part of the character. And just like that, one of the most iconic looks in movie history was born, not from careful planning, but from a guy just trying to see in the desert sun. This tells us something amazing about how great movies are really made. Sometimes the best moments aren't planned at all. They happen by accident, and smart filmmakers know how to recognize gold when they see it. Clint's squint became the perfect visual language for his character. It said everything without saying anything at all. But the squinting wasn't the only thing that happened by chance. The entire way Clint's character barely spoke in the movie was also something that grew naturally during filming. The original script actually had way more dialogue from Man with No Name. But as they were shooting, Clint and Leone realized something powerful. The less he said, the more dangerous he seemed. Think about it. In real life, the people you really need to worry about aren't the ones who talk tough and make threats. It's the quiet ones, the ones who watch and listen, and only speak when they absolutely have to. That's exactly what Clint's character became, and it made him unforgettable. Clint later said something that perfectly captures this idea. The less he says, the more dangerous he feels. And he was absolutely right. Every word became precious. Every silence built tension. When he finally did speak, people listened because they knew it mattered. But here's something that might surprise you even more. While Clint Eastwood became the face of the movie and the star that everyone remembers, there was someone else on set who was quietly stealing every single scene. His name was Eli Wallach, and he played Tuco, the character known as the Ugly. And according to people who were there during filming, Wallach was putting on such an incredible performance that even Clint Eastwood himself noticed he was being upstaged. Let me paint you a picture of what Tuco was like. Imagine someone who's completely unpredictable. One minute he's funny and charming, making you laugh with his crazy antics. The next minute he's dangerous and violent, ready to shoot anyone who gets in his way. But then, just when you think you have him figured out, he shows you a side that's almost heartbreaking, like a wounded animal just trying to survive. This is what Eli Wallach brought to screen, and it was electric. While Clint's character was all about control and quiet strength, Tuco was pure chaos and emotion. He was loud where Clint was silent, messy where Clint was clean, and completely unpredictable where Clint was steady as a rock. Director Sergio Leone noticed this amazing energy that Wallach was bringing, and he started changing the movie to give Tuco more screen time. What started as a supporting role grew into something much bigger. The film began to revolve around a dynamic between these two completely different characters, and it made the whole story more interesting. Clint Eastwood, being the professional he was, recognized what was happening and didn't fight it. Instead, he adjusted his own performance to work even better with Wallach's wild energy. He made his character even quieter and more controlled, which made Tuco's craziness shine even brighter. It was like watching a perfectly balanced dance between order and chaos. Years later, Clint admitted that Tuco was the real engine of the film and called Wallach a scene-stealing son of gun in the best way possible. Some fans today even joke that the good, the bad, and the ugly should have been called Tuco and the other two, and honestly, there's some truth to that. But Wallach's incredible performance came at a serious cost. The conditions on set were absolutely brutal, and Wallach nearly died not once, but twice during filming. In one scene, his character was supposed to be handcuffed to a dead body on top of a moving train. There was no stunt double, no safety coordinator, and definitely no modern safety standards. The train came dangerously close to a low obstacle, and Wallach barely ducked in time to avoid being decapitated. We're talking about inches here, people. A split second later, and one of cinema's great performances would have ended in tragedy. In another incident, Wallach accidentally drank from a bottle that had been filled with acid instead of water. Somehow, he survived that too, later laughing it off as part of what he called Leone's set madness. These stories show you just how crazy and dangerous movie sets could be back in the 1960s. Now, let's jump forward to 2025, because Clint Eastwood found himself in the middle of a completely different kind of drama. A newspaper in Austria called Courier published what they claimed was a brand new, exclusive interview with the legendary actor. In this supposed interview, Eastwood was taking shots at modern Hollywood, complaining about sequels and franchises, and basically telling the entire movie industry exactly what he thought was wrong with it. The quotes were sensational. Headlines exploded across the internet. Fans were sharing the story everywhere, finally hearing their hero speak his mind about the state of modern movies. There was just one huge problem. Clint Eastwood never said any of it. When Eastwood, now 95 years old, heard about this fake interview, he did something rare. He issued a quick and firm response, calling the entire thing phony. His representatives backed him up, making it crystal clear that he hadn't spoken to anyone from that newspaper in years. This wasn't just a case of being misquoted. The journalist had actually taken old quotes from interviews Eastwood had given years, or even decades ago, mixed them together, and presented them as brand new comments. The newspaper eventually had to admit the truth. They fired the journalist, apologized publicly, and retracted the article. But by then, the damage was done. The fake quotes had already spread across the internet like wildfire, shared by dozens of other news outlets who didn't bother to check if the story was real. This whole scandal shows us something important about our modern world. People were so eager to believe these quotes because they sounded like something Eastwood might actually say. He's always been known for being a bit old school in his approach to filmmaking, so when someone put words in his mouth criticizing modern Hollywood, it felt believable. But here's the thing about the real Clint Eastwood. He's much more thoughtful and measured than the fake quote suggested. When he does criticize modern movies, he doesn't attack them with anger or bitterness. Instead, he focuses on what he thinks makes a good story. He said things like, "If the story's good, you don't need to blow everything up. Let the characters breathe." Eastwood believes in what he calls the art of restraint. He thinks the best movies don't need massive explosions or endless special effects. They need real characters dealing with real emotions. Look at the movies he's directed. Gran Torino, $1 Million Baby, Mystic River. None of them relied on digital spectacle. They were all about people and the choices they make. What frustrates Eastwood isn't change itself, but a loss of emotional depth in movies. He's not against all modern films. He's praised movies like Joker for taking risks, and he's called Christopher Nolan a guy who actually still takes risks. He's not some angry old man yelling at clouds. He's a craftsman who believes good storytelling is timeless. This brings us to some of the hidden secrets about the good, the bad, and the ugly that most fans have never noticed. Even people who watch the movie dozens of times miss these carefully hidden details that make the film truly special. Take the famous cemetery scene at the end of the movie. It's one of the most breathtaking sequences in cinema history, with its circular tombstones, sweeping camera movements, and that iconic moment where Clint flicks a cigar. But here's what most people don't know. Almost all of it was improvised. The blocking, the movements, even that famous cigar flick, were all figured out on the day of shooting. Clint has revealed that much of what makes that scene so powerful came from spontaneous decisions. He chose to move slower, make fewer gestures, and just let the tension build naturally, instead of trying to act tough or dramatic. He simply let the moment speak for itself. Another secret lies in how Eastwood approached his character. Many people think Blondie, the good, is supposed to be a traditional hero, but Eastwood intentionally played him as something much more complex. He's not really good or bad. He's just a survivor in a world where moral lines are blurred. As Eastwood explained, he doesn't need to explain himself. You see what kind of man he is by how he treats the dying, not how he talks about justice. Even the costumes tell their own story. Eastwood wore the same poncho in all 3 Dollars Trilogy films, and he never washed it. Not once. He kept it dirty and damaged on purpose because he wanted it to look authentic. He knew that audiences could sense when something felt fake, even if they couldn't put their finger on what was wrong. But perhaps the biggest secret is just how close this legendary film came to falling apart completely. The production was an absolute disaster from start to finish. The budget was tiny, safety standards didn't exist, and communication between the Italian crew and American actors was nearly impossible. Director Sergio Leone spoke almost no English, while Clint spoke no Italian. They had to rely on translators for everything, which led to constant misunderstandings. Leone would give grand, dramatic directions that confused Eastwood, who preferred quiet, natural performances. The 2 different styles created tension on set, but somehow that tension made the final product better. Remember that famous bridge explosion scene? It was supposed to be one of the most expensive shots in the movie, but due to a miscommunication, the explosives team blew up the bridge before the cameras were rolling. Leone was furious. The production was already over budget, and now they had to rebuild the entire bridge and shoot the scene again. Incredibly, this disaster actually made the scene better. The rebuilt bridge looked more weathered and realistic, and the delay gave everyone time to plan a more dramatic sequence. Sometimes the best art comes from the worst circumstances. The movie was shot completely out of order, which made Eastwood's job even harder. He had to play scenes from the end of the story before filming scenes from the beginning. Imagine trying to portray a character's emotional journey when you're filming everything backwards. It requires incredible skill and concentration to make that work. Even the weather was against them. They were filming in the Spanish desert during one of the hottest summers on record. Crew members were constantly getting heat stroke and dehydration. There was no medical supervision, and safety equipment was practically non-existent. Eastwood later called the entire shoot pure madness. But from that madness came something truly magical. All the chaos, danger, and difficulty somehow created a raw, authentic feeling that few movies have ever matched. You can feel the heat, the dust, and the tension in every frame. Looking back at the good, the bad, and the ugly today, it's amazing to see how it changed not just Westerns, but all cinema. Before this movie, Western heroes were usually loud, righteous, and obviously good. Eastwood flipped that idea completely upside down. He showed that a hero could be quiet, morally ambiguous, and still completely compelling. This influence spread far beyond Westerns. You can see Eastwood's approach in countless modern movies and TV shows. Characters who say little but communicate volumes through their actions and expressions. Heroes who aren't perfect, who make questionable choices, but who we root for anyway because they feel real. The recent fake interview scandal actually proves how much Eastwood's voice still matters to people. The fact that fake quotes could spread so quickly and generate so much discussion shows that fans are hungry to hear what he thinks about modern movies. But the real Eastwood is much more interesting than any fake quotes could ever be. At 95 years old, he's still making movies. His latest film, Juror Number 2, proves that he's not just living off past glory. He's still challenging himself, still telling stories that matter to him, still proving that quiet strength can outlast any trend or fad. What makes Eastwood's legacy so powerful is the same thing that made Blondie such an unforgettable character. He knows when to speak and when to stay silent. In an age where celebrities share every thought on social media, Eastwood maintains the same mysterious quality that made his Western characters so compelling. He understood something that many modern stars have forgotten. Mystery is powerful. When you don't say everything, people pay more attention to what you do say. When you don't explain every choice, people use their imagination to fill in the blanks. And imagination is always more powerful than explanation. The good, the bad, and the ugly wasn't just a movie. It was a foundation of a myth. And Clint Eastwood, by carefully choosing when and how to break his silence, has kept that myth alive for over 50 years. He didn't just play the quiet cowboy on screen. In many ways, he became him in real life. This approach has served him well throughout his entire career. Whether he's acting or directing, he brings the same philosophy: less is more. Don't oversell the moment. Trust the audience to understand. Let the silence do the talking. In our noisy, social media-driven world, this kind of restraint feels almost revolutionary. Everyone wants to share their opinion about everything. But Eastwood shows us the power of holding back, of making people work a little to understand you, of keeping some things private and mysterious. The truth about the good, the bad, and the ugly is that it succeeded not despite its problems, but because of them. The brutal heat created that famous squint. The language barriers forced everyone to communicate through action instead of words. The dangerous conditions made every moment feel real and urgent. The budget constraints forced creativity instead of expensive solutions. Most importantly, the clash between Eastwood's quiet intensity and Wallach's wild energy created a dynamic that neither actor could have achieved alone. It proved that sometimes the best performances come not from careful planning, but from honest reactions to what's happening around you. Today, when movies often feel overproduced and focus group to death, the good, the bad, and the ugly reminds us of the power of authenticity. It shows us that audiences can sense when something is real, even if they can't explain why. And it proves that sometimes the most powerful stories are told not through words, but through silence. Clint Eastwood's revelation about his squint being a natural reaction to the sun might seem like a small detail, but it represents something much bigger. It shows us that great art often comes from embracing accidents, working with limitations, and finding truth in unexpected places. The next time you watch the good, the bad, and the ugly, pay attention to those quiet moments. Notice how much story is told without words. Watch how Eastwood and Wallach play off each other, creating magic through contrast. And remember that behind every iconic moment is a human story of people doing their best under impossible circumstances. That's the real secret of this legendary film. It's not just about good guys and bad guys shooting it out in the desert. It's about the power of authentic performance, the beauty of working with what you have instead of what you wish you had, and the magic that can happen when talented people push through chaos to create something timeless. And if you loved learning these hidden secrets about one of cinema's greatest classics, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We're always digging up fascinating behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite movies and the legendary stars who made them unforgettable. Share this video with any movie lovers in your life, because trust me, they'll never look at Clint Eastwood's famous squint the same way again. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video where we uncover even more Hollywood secrets that will blow your mind.